It's our favorite weekend of the year. My favorite part of it is doing panels like this because we're all fans of these people and this content, so they get to be up here and chat with the people like I'm sure it is for you and say it's a real treat. And it's an extra treat to get to introduce our guest now. He's had roles on shows like Fringe, Warehouse 13, CSI Miami, but you may know him best as Lieutenant Colonel John Shepherd from Stargate.
I love when they put a table here like this, it gives such sobriety.
Would you like a cup of water? Yeah, for you.
Well, for one, I don't have to stand up. That's better. But I always feel like I should be kind of academic or something when I'm sitting here. Or in front of a congressional panel.
We're going to open up the floor to questions pretty quickly, so if, pop them in your head there, but I want to just ask you off the top, does it surprise you the ongoing, I mean, you knew when you were shooting and when Stargate Atlantis was airing that there was intense fan love for this show. Does the ongoing fan love years later continue to surprise you?
It does, yeah. It surprises me a lot, actually, because, in this day and age, things are... their obsolescence is incredible. I mean, I'm doing a video game right now, and they said they have to recover 85% of their revenues in the first 7 weeks because gamers just lose their interest. So to have a TV show that, in fact, in many ways, especially when I'm overseas, I see it gaining in popularity, which is, to me, very odd. My family's sick of me, but apparently...
You're not sick of them yet, are you?
No!
You will be.
Let's take an audience question. We'll do a hand. Oh yes, with the very cool hair. Hello.
My question for you is, Shepard's become a very huge character. So with playing him, what have you taken from him, or what have you learned about a character that you've taken away as an actor?
Can everybody hear the question? So the question was, what have you taken away from the character as an actor?
What have I taken from Shepard back to my real, not so glamorous lifestyle? I took all the guns. It's getting harder to get through airport security these days. But, the character in many ways wasn't that far off. We are all... Shepard liked having a good time, and so did a lot of the other cast members on and off camera. And so I do a lot of pranks still. Mostly to my 3 boys who aren't so happy about that. But, so there's a lot of stuff. I think the arc of that character, though, was that he was a bit of a soloist, and over the course of 5 years, he abandons that for the value of, that connection and that interdependency of the team. So, I guess in some ways that parallels my life. I'm closer to my banker and my accountant. But no, truthfully, I think that would be something I took. So.
Who reacted better to your pranks, David Hewlett or your 3 boys?
You want to know what the most entertaining? Clearly, David Hewlett. I mean, Jason and I really messed with him. It was worth it. Oh my God, people have their hand raised like it's class. No, just hold on, let me just finish the answer.
Right here in the front, hello.
Hi. You have a movie coming out in September on DVD with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Talk a bit about that, the plot, and everything else.
Should I repeat the question?
I think they were focused on that.
She asked me, I have a movie coming out with Jean-Claude Van Damme in September called Six Bullets, and something to the effect of, is it going to be really bad?
No.
And I hope not. But actually, I didn't see all of it. It was much better than I had thought it would be. Because, well, I'm not a cynic, but I'm a skeptic. I tend to go into things keeping the bar at a very kind of realistic place, and if it exceeds that, I'm happy. I think the bar was quite a bit higher when I was younger, but when you go to a project, there are so many elements out of your control. You're given a script. The script can be great, and the movie can turn out to be crap, vice versa. And you have directing, editing, music, all sorts of issues that come into play that can really destroy a project. So, and not to mention Romania, which is where we were shooting, which, by the way, turned into a much nicer experience than I had anticipated. I had friends like, well, for example, like the day I was leaving, I ran into Casper Van Dien, who was the actor from Starship Troopers, right? Great. I just know him as the father of Malibu, right? But I guess it's Starship Troopers. And he told me Romania. I mean, he was saying, get in your horse and buggy, go to set, bring a gun, nobody has teeth. One of those things. So when I showed up, I was pleasantly surprised. And I had a good time. And Jean-Claude Van Damme is an icon. I like working, as an actor, working with iconic figures is always a nice little, feather in your cap. I got to work with MacGyver, which is cool. And I got to work with Rockford, which is cool. And I got to work with Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is cool. So, and I got to work with David Hewlett.
We all know that Joe Flanagan could kick Jean-Claude Van Damme's ass in real life, but who wins in a fight, Jean-Claude Van Damme or John Shepard?
Such a nuanced distinction. It would definitely be Shepard, sure. Like Indiana Jones. You're like, guys, speak French now. See, the thing about Shepard was it was the least amount of effort between 2 points. He was not a showy person. And the stuntman, when I originally went onto the show, I was working these really difficult hours, like, I don't know, anywhere between 12 and 16 hours a day. And then he would say, hey, Joe, come here, Jerry. I know, we're going to wrap at midnight. And I thought we would rehearse tomorrow's fight between 12 and 1. Like, no, man, I can't do that. It's really simple. There's some movie, how to watch. I'm like, dude, I just shoot the guy. I really had to convince him that that was my character, so I could get some sleep. But and I was like, yeah, there's this new guy, Momoa. He's like, can do all that. I'm like, wow. Give it to him. So it worked out perfectly.
Hello, sir.
What is your favorite cast prank story, and could you tell it to us?
Are there any kids here? Oh God, there's so many.
Favorite
Where
prank
do I start?
Top 3 is okay.
Top 5. God. Take all day long. Well, I mean, oh God. When I tell these stories, it's nice to have one of the castmates with me. Mostly they can do the voices or something. But we did tons of things all the time. For example, David Hewlett's wife, Jane, was having a baby. And we love messing with him. It's just like get a big bullseye. And David could get very grumpy at times. Because he had lots of absolutely bizarre dialogue explaining the plot. And we decided that he wasn't able to go to his Lamaze class, and he was very upset about that, which is apparently a course to have a baby for a man to have a baby. I obviously didn't go to Lamaze class. So Jason had found a magazine. Don't ask me why. Jason and I were roommates in a hotel suite in that's a whole nother bad film. And he had found a magazine called Big Black Butt. You know, it was right next to like New York Times and everything. I mean, so he decided to get it, rip out the pages, and do an instructional how-to, how to baby and how to count to 3 and help the woman. And it was, I mean, when I say the pictures were insane, they were insane. So we put them all over his trailer and wrote these things, and of course he came in there and kind of blood rushed out of his face. Yeah, it was pretty disturbing for him. And we obviously giggled and laughed because we're stupid and childish. And the next morning it was Jason Momoa, Chris Judge, and myself going to the airport at 6 a.m. to fly to LA. And Chris Judge goes through security, you know. Jason, you know, looks like a hobo going through security and shoots right through security. I, of course, thought I looked more representable, and I get pulled over. So they go through all my stuff, and there's a very small Filipino woman who is very official, and she asked me to open up my computer, and I open up the computer, and right there is another picture of the big that Chris and Jason had personalized. And the woman looked at me, and God forbid I ever feel like this again. She looked at me like, oh, just go. I tried to explain, I was like, so it all came back. I guess that's karma.
Actually, a good tip for getting through security.
Actually, you know what? I was thinking the same thing. I share that on the Al-Qaeda blog. So, and there are more. I will save them for later.
What was Jason Momoa like as a roommate?
You know, Jason, first of all, the studio got me a 2-bedroom place upstairs, and they didn't get him one. And so he was looking for a place, and he's like, hey, he calls me Joji. I call him Moji. It's all very intimate. And so he's like, hey, Joji, man, I'm looking for an apartment. I'm going to stay at your place for a little while. And so a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, and finally it was pretty obvious. I was like, all right, there's your room. And after I said that, a bear rug came in, buffalo head, knives, lanterns, claws. I mean, it was like, you know, some Neanderthal cave. But we had a blast. We had an awfully good time, and you know, I probably saved him quite a few times, I think. You know. But it was a blast. We had a really good time.
To go to the back, maybe, for any questions? Oh, hello, sir.
One thing I sort of noticed with science fiction shows, a lot of times, they sort of take a few seasons to get their groove, and sort of everybody sort of sells their characters and stuff. But I found with Atlantis that from the very first, the pilot movie, that everything sort of gelled, and that first season was just amazing. That they didn't have to sort of, it seemed that everybody sort of knew their characters, and the relationships gelled very quickly. There wasn't any sort of like trying to feel their way around. I don't know if you sort of felt that or noticed that.
Yeah. Well, we were all smoking pot. What's up, Shepard? No, you're right, but to be honest with you, I think an overwhelming part of that is the fact that SG-1 was on the air, and literally their fan base came right in, and I think their fan base wasn't going to embrace it right away, but I think they looked at it and they saw that it wasn't some phony duplication of SG-1, that it was in fact a real spin-off with new things, and still have connection to the mythology of Stargate. And so it was a very easy fit right away. And I specifically, for one, never looked at, I know this is probably blasphemous, but I never watched any SG-1 on purpose because I didn't want to see Richard Dean Anderson's version. I didn't want it to affect my thing. So it was after that I started shooting that I started watching the show. And I was like, I love that guy. He's crazy. I should have done it like him. But it did happen right away, and it was a bit of a. It was impressive because we went down to Comic-Con. They flew us down to Comic-Con, and I think it was a Saturday, and I think our show had aired the night before. And I was like, why are we even here? I mean, my God, one episode of the show, nobody's going to even come to the panel. And it was a panel like this. And I think it must have been 6,000 or 7,000 people in the room freaking out. And I was like, oh, shit. I have to answer questions. It was mind-boggling. And I had done, I think, 11 or 12 network pilots in various shows. And to have that type of fan base, I mean, literally, right away, was something special. And still, like I said, it still stays popular, so. Hey, I like that.
That alchemy with the characters that he saw, that we all saw from the first episode onward, on screen, was there that same sort of chemistry and alchemy between you as actors right away?
Well, it was as actors first. We didn't even get to know each other. We literally were thrown on the set. I tried to get to know everybody at the beginning. Now, it was odd because usually when I do a show or a pilot, and it's a big deal to do a pilot, and the producers and everybody come together, you go out with them, you have dinners with them, you really get to know each other. This, however, was a very different show because it was picked up for 20. The producers had already been shooting for, I don't know, 137 years for SG-1, right? So they were like, all right, get to work at 7, leave at 6. That was it. They were on autopilot. And there wasn't the chance to spend time together, to get to know each other. So I forced all the cast members to come to my apartment, I think, the day or two before shooting, to get to know each other. And I did a screening of Galaxy Quest. And Tori turned to me at the end. She was sitting right next to me, and she goes, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. Maybe a little bit of both. Anyway, so we got to know each other in the process. And we all became close. And that's an interesting way to become friends. First as professional, and then as friends. And the friendships are strong. You know, I saw Robert Picardo and Jewel last week. Jason called me yesterday because he's going to Atlanta with me next week, and he asked me to start drinking now.
Did he ask if he could stay with you in Atlanta?
That's no more. That's off. And Hewlett texted me this morning to tell me what he had for lunch. So we stay in touch, and it's really nice. And it's ironic because the cast is very close, but we never got to know the producers quite as well because, like I said, they had pre-existed on the show, and I think that they have just done it, you know. So there you go.
More questions? Right there. Hey, how's it going? Precor. Klingon.
I'm wondering, you talked about, I'm wondering if the show had continued, what aspects of Shepard you would have liked to explore that hadn't gotten explored in the time that you were involved?
Shepard needs a few girlfriends. They're not of you noticed the last episode, everybody mysteriously got together, and I'm out there by myself? My kids. What's that?
Larry.
Oh, Larry. But she disappeared. There are so many things that could have been explored. I actually wrote an episode where I go back to Earth and go to my father's funeral and stuff. I helped write that episode. Or I created the episode. I don't remember what it was. So I just get strange phone calls from the Canadian Writers Guild, which I'm kind of not a member of. And they keep asking me to join, but it costs more to join than my residual checks. I don't think so. The back, ironically, he's the lead of this show, essentially, one of the major leads there, and you don't really know that much about him. You know less about him and his backstory than anyone, actually. So that could have been explored. The city was never explored. I don't think properly. I mean, the city's gargantuan. It should be endless amount of things. And also we needed to find out what happened to Rainbow Sun Franks back there. Stop stealing my thunder, pal. No. Yeah. 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 Just me and you, buddy. Pretend like nobody's here. Let's talk. Actually, his character went to a really interesting place, and I felt like that character definitely would have come back. Played by a different person, of course. There's so many things that could have been done, but the thing I think the most of all, the most promising place it was going was, to me, the way Vegas went. Because to me, it was like, all right, now we're opening up really a new, entirely new, territories of potential plots versus kind of repeating or having derivative plots from SG-1 or previous Atlantis episodes. And I like the idea of having this parallel universe, and I thought it was really cool, and we could have gone really far with that. It's ironic that I feel like it should have been the last episode, because I think that would have been more of a more interesting way to end the show, because it's open and closed at the same time. It also was, ironically, the last episode we shot, and here we spent like 5 years together. I think quantified, somebody told me I spent something like 12,000 hours on set or something. Well, that's a long time. And I still never got that coffee. It's really weird. But they shot this, and we had wrapped the show in Vancouver. A group of us went to Las Vegas to shoot this. We're shooting. Last night of shooting, we go all night long into the time the sun comes up, and then we couldn't shoot anymore because we needed nighttime shots. And I just remember, we're shooting, the sun's coming up, we're like, all right, okay, good, I think we got it, that's a wrap. Hey, Joe, thanks, good seeing you, thanks for the show, see you later. Okay, I'll just take the bus. So it was relatively unceremonious way to end the show, but I think that in their defense, I don't think they knew where it was going to go. I think they anticipated us to shoot a movie. So.
It was written.
It was it written? I don't think I
Malozzi wrote it. It is written. He doesn't own it anymore. MGM does. But
who's read it?
nobody.
Exactly.
Promise it was there.
Are you sure it wasn't Malozzi talking about some chocolate bonbon he ate at dinner? Yeah, he does this little food blog. I tried reading it. I was like, no offense. I hope your scripts are better than your food blogging. All right, good Mark. It's okay.
Gentleman in front of the camera and a hat.
I'm just kind of wondering if the opportunity did arise for you guys to get together for kind of like SG1 did with the 2 movies. Is that something that the group of you would possibly think about doing for us?
Like I said, I always feel so congressional panel right here. I take the fifth.
You're in Canada, you can.
Absolutely, we work together, for sure. In fact, we've talked about it. And it's odd because you're kind of expecting that they keep saying, oh, we're going to do a Stargate movie or something. And I think the time is now where we just, if we want to work together, we should just come up with a project together. Which would be smart because there's already a built-in fan base all over the world and it would make a lot of sense. And I'm sure the funding would come in and everything else. We would have to pry David from his kitchen.
Just give Jason a skirt and a sword.
Jason's easy. You just push him up. And he goes, ugh.
Just tease him about his Baywatch days and he'll shut up.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, so I still have the pellet gun ready to show him around.
I'll go to the back with the black hair. Hello again. Hi.
As you can see, I really like being you.
Oh. That's awesome. Can I give you my bills?
Pretty good imitator. But there's one accuracy question me and my friends have been debating. How do you get, which we like to call the Shepherd Hedgehog?
I've had that question a couple times this morning, right? And my mom, she has said that I was unruly in the womb. I was waiting for her to say I was adopted, too. I have lots of calyx, just, I don't know if you know what those are? And they're tons. So if I grow it really long, it'll start going down. But not really down, but down-ish. And when I got sent away to boarding school, and I remember the headmaster was upset that my hair was a little unruly. And he kept asking me to clean it up and stuff. And it was kind of not totally possible. So he brought me into his office one day. Said, sit down. His coat tie. Sit down. And he tried combing my hair down. And I remember sitting there going, this is kind of awkward. I've heard about the buggering in boarding school too. So let's just hope it sticks to hair combing. But he was combing the hair and, kept going, I just saw him, he was getting so frustrated, he was just so mad, it just wasn't working. So they just finally wrote me off. And it was funny. It's been like the bane of my existence, and then also I've learned to live with it. It seems to become kind of signature at times. So, and I've got 3 little boys, and none of them have this hair, which is hilarious. So, and I was like, I want daddy's hair. So, what are you going to do?
Follow-up question, is there any product in the hair, any mousse or gel of any sort? Will that turn out?
There's some sleep in it. Hello, right about here. Airplane. Backseat here. I try to put some stuff in it to actually keep it from being even crazier. So I try to put something that actually kind of weighs it down a little. Like I said, I could cut it really short. Isn't this a fascinating concept?
Any more questions about Joe's hair? Several.
And who said the world is coming to an end?
I have a question. What episode was the most memorable to you and why?
I would say Vegas is the most memorable to me. A, for the reason I told you, was the last episode I shot, but B, I thought it was the most interesting. So from that perspective, I would say that was the episode. This is a clean question. You answered so fast. I'm actually just continuing to talk. Why give short answers when you don't have to, right?
Tell us about your hair and that.
Yes, thank you. Back to the subject.
You talked already a little bit about writing and creating the stories for a few episodes and casting an epiphany. How did that come about? Was that extra gratifying to have some sway over the direction of those episodes?
I'd like to take my name off of Epiphany. I didn't think that was good. I actually came up with an idea that I liked, and by the time it kind of reached its final accepted script, it wasn't anything I had recognized. So, which is okay, because it was actually a decent script still. I just don't feel like that episode turned out as well as I'd like it. And perhaps it's because it was my first shot at helping create an episode, and I had to deal with the, like, no, this is what it's supposed to be. And they were like, well, this is what it is. So, and I think the writers and producers have to deal with that sensation all the time. So.
But Outcast, you were happier with the final product?
Yeah, that Outcast was more interesting. It's just a little more concise and set up and things like that. And I think I killed more people now. It always makes for a better episode.
In the U.S., Stargate aired on Sci-Fi, Sci-Fi Channel, and having and as you know, on Saturday nights they have a movie of the week. Would you consider writing a movie of the week? Or would you consider yourself as a character in a plot line in a movie of the week that you'd like to do specifically?
You're asking would I be interested in getting involved in writing a Saturday night sci-fi movie?
Yeah, in either writing one, or can you envision a storyline with you as a character in one of those?
I was in one.
Okay.
It's obviously very memorable.
You were good.
Now that's funny because, thank you, I was clear. You're right, I was. They had asked me to do these movies repeatedly, and I, would always thank you very much, and like, things aren't that bad. I don't do those yet. But then they said we're shooting this one in Ireland, and I was like, oh really? And I like the idea of shooting in Dublin. So I went to Dublin and shot one, and it was an absolute blast to shoot. I think it was a wonderful cast and crew. And it was very hard. By the time that my driver would drop me off, I had to walk these 3 blocks to my hotel because you couldn't take cars. And within those 3 blocks must exist maybe 427 pubs, of which I had to go in every one because, not necessarily because I wanted to, but very popular show in Ireland. I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, it's Sean Shepherd. Let me buy you a beer. And they're like, no, okay. And by the time I walked those short few blocks, I was stumbling into the hotel every night. So Ireland embraced me. I drank their affection.
Did you miss Jason during that?
Jason was shooting Game of Thrones in Belfast, and Jason would come down to Dublin. And wow. Problems. Oh yeah. And I was saying, like, I think that we scared the living shit out of the Irish. And that's saying a lot. Because they're pretty traumatized after 400 years, yeah. So anyways.
The young lady here in the middle. Hi. Yeah.
Hi. How is this a question about Sunday Landing? How did the dynamics change within the cast and within the group of characters when Dr. Veer left?
When Tori left.
Oh yeah. Well, the producers, when I started doing the show, were confided in me a lot in their so-called private decisions regarding a lot of things. And they started saying things that I just kind of was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I think it was clear to them that I had an opinion about certain things, and I don't think that was part of the deal. And so they kind of stopped telling me certain things. And then I one day got a phone call while I was shooting that they had fired Paul McGillen, who plays Carson Becker. And I was just like, wow. Why? You know, he's a popular character, why do that? And same with Tori. And, you know, they just stopped telling us these things. And, you know, there could be legitimate reasons from a creative standpoint to increase the stakes, which is generally what the reasoning they give is. And then there can be, on a more skeptical interpretation, a desire to create leverage constantly to remember, you know, who's in control of the show, and, you know, which is ironic because the show is the cast was very professional, very easy to work with, and it was an easy group. There weren't you know, any fanatic, you know, tantrums or anything like that, and it shot smoothly. And I just felt that was unfortunate, mostly because the fans were upset, you know. And then I told the guy who ran MGMTV, I called, I said, I think this is a bad idea. Why are you getting rid of Tori? People like Tori. And he said, well, you know, blah, 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 and there's a million reasons why or why not. And they were never of a non-professional nature. They were never about her or anything other than some creative issue. And he said, you know, I will help, you can help cast the lead woman. And, you know, I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to be asked. But I'm like, okay. And then I got a phone call a couple weeks later from Joe Malatsky saying we cast Amanda. I go, oh, okay. I mean, I thought I was going to be part of it, and I guess I wasn't part of it. But that was also part of the deal, I guess. But, and so Amanda came on, and everybody loves Amanda. I mean, it's impossible not to love Amanda. She's an amazing person to work with and everything else. And what was difficult for me is I loved Amanda. I knew Amanda as a friend and somebody who I'd worked with. However, there was one issue I had, and it was kind of an important issue, which is that Atlantis didn't become SG2. And I didn't want it to become SG2 because then I thought that we're taking away from the originality of the spinoff. And, you know, I was a small chorus of people who were saying that. And it was not at all because I didn't want to work with Amanda, because I love her to death and I had a great time working with her. And like I said, she is the most unflappable human being in the world. And, you know, I've tried to get under her skin as much as possible. And I'm good at it. So that's the way it rolled, and I think that people love seeing her. I just thought that the next woman that showed up, she and I should be like this. You know, I did. I thought that they should be combative all the time. And he's fighting to do something, and she's saying, you can't do it. And I thought that would make a good dynamic. But, whatever.
At the back, sir.
Welcome back to Canada. You may be aware of an old saying that God invented alcohol so the Irish couldn't rule the world. Anyway, I just wondered.
Well, I'm not ruling the world. Does that mean I'm a drunk?
No, not at all.
With a family of 3 boys, do you have any dogs or cats or bugs?
I have 5 dogs. Oh, and you know, my wife is crazy. Yeah, and the irony is we've had a number of opportunities to thin the herd. And I don't mean that. It's unfortunately closer to the bone than you think, actually, another pun. But we lost 2 dogs to a coyote, and a third one to a mountain lion. And I was like, you know, oh, God, you guys are going to hate me for this. I was like, oh, God, oh, that's so bad. Well, there's only 4 But we lost, the last one we lost is to a mountain lion. And I'm in Eastern Europe shooting something, and my middle son likes to FaceTime because he's figured out how to FaceTime. Forgetting that it's like a 12-hour time change or whatever it is. So it's usually 2 or 3 in the morning that I get the FaceTime call. And it's this little face like, "Hi, Dad." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, Truman, hi. It's 3 in the morning." And he goes, "Dad, I have a secret, but I'm not telling you." I'm like, "Okay." And right then, I saw this black and white French bulldog walk behind me that I had never seen before. It's like, it doesn't involve another dog, does it? He's like, "Oh my God, how did you know?" I said, "Don't tell Mommy that." Now, as it turned out, my mother was also involved with the purchase of this other dog. My mother is also crazy. And I grew up with, and this is no exaggeration, I think maybe over 100 different species of animals on a ranch, ranging from ostriches and llamas, emus, peacocks, you name it, we had it. We had a skunk in the house, Vietnamese potbelly pig, and I grew up, obviously, in a circus, and I guess my wife wanted to recreate that or something. But, so yes, I have 5 dogs, and thankfully I have a lot of property because nobody wants to live next to us. But it's fun. We have a lot of fun.
Cool. Right here in the front.
Hi. With Start-Bait, SG1 in Atlantis, there's always the shippers out there. And one of the groups that was very vocal on the message boards with Spark groups that like you and John Shepard and Elizabeth
I think you said
Mears.
shippers. I was like,
Shippers, yeah, shippers.
UPS involved.
So anyways, were you guys ever aware of what was going around on the boards with the Shaylas and the Sparkies and?
Didn't read them.
You didn't know about it?
Because I knew I was going to read something I didn't like. No, I don't read them. And my suggestion for the people who were on the show that asked me, I said, well, look, you can read them if you want, and then you're going to have to read all of them. Or you're going to, the things that are said positively about you, you should take it way down. The things that are said negatively about you, you should bring way up. And somewhere in the middle, you get an idea. But if you think it will affect you on the show, don't read it. As it was, I was just too lazy to read it.
Because they would always dissect those.
Trust me, I'm paying, I'll read it.
And Shepard being, they're obviously in favor of the characters getting together and they're pro Sparkies, whereas the writers were well, Sparky was the Weir Shepard dynamic.
Oh.
They wanted those two to
You guys
get
hear
together. And so when you guys had scenes together, they would always.
Well, what about when Rainbow and I? You know, by the way, and I used to call him Rain Bucket. Rain Bucket.
Who would you like to see?
Wait, Rain? Excuse me, sir. Mr. Franks has a question in the back.
Oh.
That is not a split, Rainbow. It's some.
Sparkies are fans that wanted Shepard and Weir to be a couple.
Yeah, there are people who want Shepard and Weir to come together in union. Fleshy union. It was the 11 p.m. show.
If you could have written it, who would you have wanted to see Shepard hook up with?
Rainbow's going. I have a list, actually. I don't know. To be honest with you, there was a long discussion about that, and people in the TV business love to talk about moon. What was the moonlight? Moonlighting. And that dynamic. And they never got together. Or did they? But you don't know they did if they did, right? So the truth is, the consummation sometimes can really disappoint. And even though people say that's what they want, yeah. People from personal experience. It wasn't as good as but and it's very, very funny because in my 12 pilots that I did, one of them went through a hyper testing process that I did for NBC, and they finally, through testing it with all these audiences, they decided to go to like Vegas and test it in Vegas and stuff. And the audience said that they wanted to see me and this girl get together in the show. And that was not what we were planning. We were planning on the fact that they couldn't get together, and that was frustrating. So they kind of went back and we kind of got together. And then everybody was like, oh, they shouldn't have got together. So you have to be careful about all that stuff. And what you really want is anticipation. Like, will there be a 6th season of Atlantis? But you feel, yeah, anticipation. Yeah.
The shippers know row with the debate lives on. I want to go to the very back with the hat. Hi, hat.
Hi.
Hi.
So you grew up with a lot of animals at home.
Yes.
I have a theory about your hair.
Uh-oh. Hey, listen, I got my tail removed years ago. Yeah. Pithy comments.
Let's go over to the far side here. Hello.
How you doing?
I like your beard.
Thank you. You're welcome. I also grew up with animals on animals in my home. So I see
They were on top of each other.
You grew up in Mark.
Two are wet. Serious question. I see why you drink. What's your favorite type of beer?
Favorite beer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough question. When I'm in Ireland, I like Guinness. The problem is this: my dad was in the beer business, and his dad, I mean, literally, this is an old family. He's part of the Anheuser-Busch family, and to drink anything other than Budweiser, I would get my ass kicked. I mean, and I'm not joking. I'm not joking. One time I was at my uncle's house and these guys pulled up with their pickup truck. It was a ranch and they had their Coors, which, you know, is what people drink in a lot of ranch places. And, oh man, so pissed off they took those Coors cans and was, what the hell are you doing with your Coors here? And of course replaced it with Budweiser, but the point is that I was never allowed to express what beer I liked until, I know, it's sad. Very sad. I had to keep it locked in. I will tell you though, when they started buying up some of the micro labels, I was finally able to kind of expand my repertoire, at least publicly. I did have a private taste of my things, and I was not a big fan of Budweiser. It was not my favorite beer. And thank God my father passed away because he would come up here and smack me right now. But you know, I like a lot of microbreweries, and I tend to like stronger beers. And I can drink Guinness in Ireland non-stop and not get a hangover. But when I drink Guinness in the United States, there's something else in it. Yeah, beware.
There's Budweiser in it.
There's Budweiser everywhere.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
You're so close to me. Freaking me out.
Could you move back?
Have you ever been cast for a superhero movie? And if not, what superhero would you want to be if you were ever considered?
What superhero would you want to play is the question.
Oh, I mean, to me it's pretty simple. I would be Batman.
Do you go into Batman voice?
No. I'll go totally go Christian on that. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, I like that whole dark gothic thing. I always have. And as a kid, I always liked Batman more than Superman. I don't know why. Well, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. But anyway, so I would. And, you know, I turned down Batman. I know a lot of actors who love telling me their stories about how they turn things down. And at the end, you know, and I'm like, you're an idiot. But anyway.
One minute at the back, the gentleman who's diligently had his hand up. The very back.
Why did you choose to go into acting, or was there circumstances involved that got you into this career?
Yes. I kept getting fired from everything. Yeah, I wish that was not true. I wish that was a joke. But the truth is, I had various jobs and managed to kind of continue to get myself in trouble. Leading all the way up to the pinnacle of my kind of wayward ambitions, I worked in the White House as an advance man for George Bush Sr. And I was involved in organizing church for him. And it was a very short time before I got myself in trouble on that place. Yeah, no, it was just incredible. You know, everything is so intense, you know, I mean, the security and everything else. And I was involved in one particular speaking engagement that he had in Charlotte, North Carolina, that we had velvet ropes up so that the audience wouldn't kind of rush him, and some of them were going to get photos with him and stuff like that. And I was having an argument with a local campaign person who wanted to take them down because she said, rightfully, that at $100 a plate, you know, these people should not be behind velvet ropes, and they're all personal friends of George Bush. All 700 of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know, everybody's friends with George Bush. Senior, by the way. Let me just clarify, please. And I went downstairs, met him, brought him up in the elevator, where I was obviously with the entourage. And the elevator opened up and the velvet ropes were gone, and there was a swarm around him. And it pushed me back, I think, 20, 25 minutes on the schedule, which is an eternity when you're the most powerful person in the world. And so I just, you know, I was just always having a problem. And I just feel like they kind of kept demoting me until pretty soon I was kind of doing like local events in Washington, D.C. And, but I took advantage of my position. I just want you to know. I abused my power as much as possible. Because Domino's Pizza, for example, said that they could deliver pizza under 30 minutes, or otherwise it was free. It only takes 45 minutes to go to the White House security. We'll arrive with a very sweaty, stressed out delivery man. And I'd say, dude, that's like an hour, bro. I think that's a free pizza. But then I give them big tips, so it all worked out. But yeah, no, and then I went to acting school and I was trying to pay rent, and it was very difficult. I went from working for the most powerful people in the world to bartending. That's progress, I think. And they go, Flanagan, the name like Flanagan, get behind the bar, pal. And I was like, yeah, I've been behind the bar my whole life, you know. I come from the clan Flanagan. I know how to make drinks. And I'd never heard of these drinks. I was like, yeah, beer, wine, scotch. No, like Singapore slings and rosemary floral nonsense. I didn't know any of these drinks. And I couldn't make the drinks, and boy, that lasted a couple of hours. And so I literally I couldn't find this place. And I had a roommate who, next door to me in New York City, who was an actor. And as I recollected, I don't think he ever did anything ever, but he was happy, always having a good time. And he was like, God, you know, I think you're between jobs, Joe. Why don't you try this? And I said, God, I'm shy, I don't want to do that. And how do you do it? You know, it was one of those things. And I went to an acting class in New York, and I was like, let's give this a shot, and it kind of worked out. And, you know, next thing I know, I was in LA. I remember shooting a bunch of Cindy Crawford commercials, and people were paying me money. I was like, damn, I like this. It's better than the White House. So it worked out. It worked out. I mean, I think a lot of actors, in some ways, are misfits somehow. Or they should be in jail. It's one or the other.
So you're not running for political office in November, just to clarify.
Yeah, I just did too many skeletons in the closet.
Right at the front.
What do you think was Shepard's defining moment from going from
Such
a
a
solitary,
serious question.
from being a solitary individual to being all about the team?
What do you
was the
think of
defining-
what?
The defining moment.
Was a defining moment. Well, actually, when we came back after year one, going into year two, Robert Cooper brought me into his office and said, you know, I rewatched the first season. I'm thinking that what we need is a greater connection of the characters, which I think was a very accurate thing. And so they started writing more of it. And once they started writing more of it, it was easier to do. And I think that it was a combination of both things. You know.
Well, unfortunately, we only have time for one more question. So who has got the most epic question in the room? Put your hand down if your question's not epic. All right, that's it.
That guy has the most epic, like, hand.
Go with him, or?
Don't have
Okay, so your hand is epic, sir. Last epic question.
Has there ever been a moment where you just really wanted to turn to one of your cast members and just slap them?
David Hewlett has a very soft skull. To be honest with you, it was remarkable that we went 5 years and nobody walked away hating each other, because it's very hard to do on a show, to make that type of thing work. And so I'm kind of proud of that. But it was fun on camera to smack Hewlett, off his boss. When I did that one day, and it was really in a, we were shooting, I kind of almost forgot we were shooting, and he was being annoying. I don't know why. I don't know why. And I was like, and I didn't realize it was shooting, but it was there and I started using it. It's amazing how much people really liked it. I love it when you hit, McKay in the head. I do too. Anyway, thank you for coming.